Oh my. Wait. Welcome to episode 4 of Mums Unedited with the lovely Laura.
Hello.
Hello. And myself, Naomi, the Imagine Mastery expert for neurodivergent mums and double-digit daughters.
And just keeping it real, the reason we're giggling is we've just tried to record the introduction to this podcast because we've apparently trying to figure out, we're apparently podcasters now and we don't know what we're doing. So we've got to get an intro. It didn't work, so we've not done it.
There'll be lots of bloopers to come. Watch for them.
Lots of swearing and lots of getting upset and angry. Anyway, because it was scripted, right? So this is the whole point. The minute we started to script something and write about who we are and read it, it just went flat. So we were laughing about how real this is and how you're going to hear the the ahs, the swearing, the cussing, the bloopers, the bit at the beginning that we just messed up. It is what it is because, well, it just is. I was going to say we're unedited. It's life.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of it, is to show the real life, not the polished, like Pinterest, Instagram life of parenthood and business, but actually real what happens behind the scenes and all the outtakes and intakes that happen when you're trying to do anything when it comes to building your business. But also, I think it works hand in hand with parenting because at the end of the day, we are winging it and we live and learn, don't we?
Mm-hmm. But do you know what? That's a really good point about how it mirrors parenting, like building the business. It mirrors parenting. Some days you're really high, sometimes you're really flat. Other times you think you're winning at life, and other times you feel like you've just failed hugely. So it's a real not analogy because it's not an analogy. It's a real parallel going on. But I think as well, just for anyone at work who just go through the day-to-day life, it's just mirrored, and it's mirrored for what our teenagers are going through, which actually links really nicely into what the session's about. Session, see, I'm already in therapist mode. Our episode is about. And we were talking just before we started and press play was that I'm going to talk to a group of year 8s on Saturday. It terrifies me. I can tell
Sorry, yes, you had some kind of accent. Sorry. I'm going to talk to a group.
I do that. And I also burst into song. I feel like I'm Miranda. Do you ever watch Miranda? Like when she just bursts into song. I do that a lot.
I actually do that a lot.
Okay, that could be quite fun then. Let's do it in the session if you did. I was trying to think of a song then about do it. But yeah, I do drop into weird accents every now and then.
No, that's fine. It just proper made me tumble. Sorry.
I'm off to see a group.
What to do? It actually reminds me of a video I took the other week with when my second daughter was here. We was doing accents. We had a whole night, and I've actually got a whole heap of video clips of Lily trying to do an accent, Rachel doing an accent, me doing an accent, and all of us absolutely wetting ourselves with laughter because it was just the most ridiculous but hilarious thing going.
Oh, so much fun. It's when you get the giggles though, and you just can't stop. Those moments are great, aren't they?
Yeah. So anyway, to today's episode,
my group that I'm seeing on Saturday. So very good, very wonderful. I can't say now normally. I have been doing a few talks with netball beds netball, and they've invited me along to go speak to their year 8s, and it terrifies me. I can talk to parents all day long, but like they all just. What was interesting, the last time I did year 10s last time, they all walked in single file like I was a teacher, and they all sat down in a classroom, and then they just looked at me like, go on then, what are you going to do? And I kid you not, I couldn't remember my name. I don't know who I was. I lost it. I was a bit like, you can't see it on the podcast, but I just went, you can't see it. But anyway, terrifying. So I'm prepared this time because, well, I was prepared last time, but I know what I'm walking into. And I'm not going to get them sitting like school kids in rows. I'm going to change it up because I'm not a teacher. I'm a therapist. So what I thought would be good is to, a bit of the backstory is Parentology on the website has loads of different resources to share with parents on how to manage their teens' mental health, well-being, behaviour. And I thought it would be useful to share what I'm going to share with the teenagers or preteens on Saturday with how to acknowledge their emotions and their feelings and why understanding their mental health is such an important thing. So that'd be quite useful.
I think that's going to be gold.
Oh God, there's pressure.
Yes.
Pressure.
A sprinkle of pixie dust.
All right.
I love that one.
I love the pixie dust. And you know what? It's when I did a blog, an article on the website, all about how TikTok is becoming the teenager therapist, and how I work with so many teenagers who have already diagnosed themselves with all sorts of things because TikTok have said no. I'm not saying that some of them aren't true, and actually, it's really useful to have people where you can relate to it. Go, actually, I see a lot of those traits in me, but therapy is becoming TikTok social media related, and it's dangerous because it's not teaching them the depth of what they need to know. So what I thought would be useful is to explain to the parents that are listening about how I work with teenagers in the therapy room when I do talks to groups of horror of just horrible. They're not horrible.
Chorus.
That a Freudian slip. No, they're wonderful. I love doing it. Terrifies me, but I'm horrified. So you can help your own teenagers, and in the in the show description notes, I'll put links to the website that has all these tools on there. But basically, one of the biggest things that we have with teenagers is when they sense something, when they feel something, their brain will naturally add a word to it that is one of the more generic ones. So it's really easy to go, I'm angry, happy, sad, anxious. So these 4 or 5 different emotions that we have is what they'll feel. So if their tummy starts to feel butterfly, they're anxious. If they start to feel short breath, they're anxious. You know, they just label it with what they think they should do. Now, there is a very good reason for this, is that their logical brain hasn't fully developed, so they don't know the words to use. The emotional literacy isn't there yet. And that's where we come in as parents. Now, if you're watching on the YouTube video, I'm going to show you what I mean here. It is laminated. I use it in the therapy room all the time, hence why it's a bit battered. But the feelings wheel here, and again, I'll put a link down in the show notes to it. But it's very easy to be just Googled off of Google, right?
Googled.
The brilliant thing about the feelings wheel is it breaks down the emotions. So in the middle of the feelings wheel, you have your generic ones: angry, happy, sad, and a few others. But when you go into the outer circles, it starts to break those words down. So the example that I use with parents and with teenagers that I'm working with is angry. If Naomi, you says to me, I'm so angry today, my perception of anger is rage, is your fists are clenched and you're probably going to hit, well, I hope you're not going to hit me, but you might hit something in the room, right? You're angry, you're raging. My instinct is to fix you or run away. Okay. I don't really want to know why you're angry. I want to just fix everything so I feel safe. Yeah. So if your teenager is saying to you, I feel really angry, we're probably coming out with that emotion to fix them. Well, what's wrong? Tell me what's wrong. I'll fix it. And if you've listened to the past episodes, we now know that as we move into these teenage years, we are not there to fix anymore, that we are there to coach and counsel. So the feelings wheel allows them to break that down. As in, if you look under anger, and there'll be the link here, it also comes into feeling let down and feeling disappointed. Well, if your teenager says to you, comes in from school, and they could come in from school and say, I'm so angry, so-and-so won't talk to me, and she's not inviting me to the party this weekend, and I'm just so angry. If you could talk to your teenager and turn that word into a different word, like what the actual feeling is, they're probably feeling very let down. They're probably feeling a little bit humiliated that they weren't invited. They're the only one that's not been invited. They might feel disappointed that their best friend isn't thinking of them. There's so many different emotions that's going to come out of that. Now, if my teenager says to me, do you know what, Mum, I just feel really disappointed that she didn't think about me. I just want to hug her and just look after her. I don't want to fix anything because there's nothing to fix. I can't fix disappointment. No. So I want to react very differently. So what I do when I work with teenagers is I'm teaching them to use different words for their emotions. Use the right words, because that will inform your parents on how you want to react. So we've all been there before, where your teenager's gone off to their room. When I say teenager, I mean a preteen as well, just the generic term. When they've gone into their room and you knock on their door and you say, what's wrong? What's happening? You get the, I'm fine, leave me alone, go away. You get the back off, because they don't know how to express what they're feeling. This is where we come in and try and teach that emotional literacy. Probably not at that moment, at a different time, and get them to use a different word. The way that I teach parents, or the way that I work with teenagers, and what I'm teaching parents to work with their teenagers, is to use a real simple phrase. And the phrase is, I feel ... put the feeling in using the wheel, put the feeling in because why do you feel that feeling? So, for example, I feel disappointed because Sophie didn't invite me to the party. What do you now need to not feel that disappointment? So we really get them to use that sentence. Even if they can only do the first bit, I feel, that could be good enough right now. I feel disappointed because I didn't get invited to the party. I need, and then whatever they need. So that could be, I need a hug. I need ice cream. I need to, even if they say, I need to go and punch her face in, they're not going to do it, but you're expressing what that feeling is. Obviously, don't let them go and do that. That's against the law. But they want to express that. And if you stop them from feeling that or expressing that, it then ties itself up in a knot because you've then got something to work with. Well, no, actually, we don't go and hit people. That's not the right thing to do. But how about send them a message or do something else? So if you encourage your teenager to say that I feel because I need, and I'll put all this down in the resources, you're really encouraging them to stop and think about what they're feeling. So it's very easy to go, I'm just angry, I'm so annoyed with them. Well, actually, are you? You're probably feeling something a little bit deeper there. And by labeling the feeling correctly or as near as they can do, will absolutely release it quicker. So what we call it is we name it to tame it. We name the feeling. Don't ignore the feeling, because if your teenager's angry and you leave them to go to their room, they're going to fester on it because it doesn't make sense. The anger isn't relating to the feeling. It's just what they've named it. So there's a whole process involved there, and it takes lots of time to sort of embed this process because it's not a natural one. We normally just go off ranting about what we're feeling and we use the very basic emotional words. But we have thousands of emotions and thousands of combinations of emotions. We are not always just happy, angry, sad. We need to start labeling it. Now, one of the things I teach people to do is to label it in the moment. If I was to say to you, Naomi, without putting you completely on the spot, how are you feeling right now? What word springs right to mind? If you give yourself a minute, well, not a minute, because that would be a really dead silence on a podcast, but give yourself a moment to go, how am I feeling? What is it that you're feeling today?
How am I feeling?
Here's the wheel.
Today, I would say that I am feeling. There's a mixture of emotions today. So,
Yeah,
okay, the first one that pops to mind is anxiety.
Because
there is so much going on and my brain just feels like it is going to explode. And not just the neurodivergent brain that's going to explode, an added layer on top of neurodivergent explosion brain. So I would say that I'm feeling anxiety because there is a lot of information that I'm processing, and because there is anticipation for an event that is incoming.
And do you know what? I would then, and feel free to do this as a parent, come in and go, hey, so you feel overwhelmed? Because there's a real sense of overwhelm there where you just feel really anxious and apprehensive because of everything that's going on right now, which could be leading you to feel overwhelmed. So you feel free to add an emotion into it, because your teenager can always go, oh, no, it's not that. I do it in therapy all the time, and I often get told, nah, ain't that. But it gives them an opportunity to explore. And then can you add the need onto it? What do you need to feel a little bit better? What do you need to not feel apprehensive and anxious today?
I need to regulate myself. And to do that is to take some time and space to process my thoughts and what my to-do list is. And I don't call it a to-do list because I hate that authoritarian thing. So I call it my get shit done list. And I also have a not to-do list. Just a little tip out there. So I need to take time away from the doing of anything and process my own thoughts and feelings and put it down onto paper. And then I'm able to work out what's important and what's not important, what I can deal with and what is out of my control and all that kind of thing. So it's about bringing it all back around into a nice, neat loop.
Nice, neat loop. And prioritize is a big word there. So figure out what you need to do and then prioritize what's essential, because we know there's an imminent birth going on in your family, which is probably leading to quite the overwhelmed feeling. So the important thing to notice there is, even if today doesn't go that way and you don't end up doing anything that's on your get shit done list, your brain has had a plan. So even though your teenager might say, I feel really anxious and apprehensive because I've got a test that's coming up and I need to get rid of that to get rid of the feeling, I need to do the revision. Even if they don't do the revision, the brain has a solution. Whether it does it or not is another thing. But the brain needs answers. It always needs answers. And if we don't follow that process through from the I feel to the I need, it almost starts to tangle itself up into a tight knot. And that's where we start getting these really sort of anxious behaviors that don't leave. We get tangled in the thoughts where the overwhelm doesn't go. So even though you might get a call in the moment, which means you've got to head off and do your grandmother. I did the voice again. Grandmother. Juicy. I don't know why I did that. You might not get any of your shit done today, but at least the brain knows what it needs to do and it's calmed itself. So that's what we teach. That's what I'll be teaching on a bit more of a fun way. It's a bit heavy to be doing that with a year 8, but I'm doing it I'll do it through scenarios, which is quite a fun way of doing it. Like, what do you do if your friend rolls their eyes at you? What do you feel? What would you do? What do you need? That creates quite a good. Or what do they feel about their coaches and their teachers? That creates a lot of funny emotions, especially because their coaches are in the session. Anyway, that's beside the point. But that's what we do. So that's the process that I would work with a teenager, and then I would teach a parent to do that. And also that we need to do that as adults, just as I've done there with you, is just to have that process going on, because you can't teach someone something that you don't do yourself. I do it I have to do it all the time as a therapist, because we have to keep ourselves regulated so we can be there for clients who are unregulated or dysregulated. So it's a really important process really important habit just to get into, because I tell you now, once you nail that and once you get used to naming your feelings and taming them, because you stop fearing anxiety, you stop fearing depression, you stop fearing it, they go. I don't go. They just feel more in your control. And is that not what we want?
And that's exactly what I was just about to say. That's emotional mastery. You're mastering your emotions. And I think what I wanted to add into that is that when there is so many complexities with emotions, and there's emotions that we don't necessarily see as emotions. We see them like frustration is an emotion, and sometimes people don't see that as an emotion. So there is, like you say, breaking it down from that umbrella term of whatever it is, happy, sad, and then breaking it down into like the smaller feelings that are actually going on underneath is the key to doing that. But you can only do that if you have the names of them things and understand what them emotions are and where they are in your body. Because especially as a neurodivergent person, we feel emotions slightly differently, and they can be more intense. And I'm not saying anything against neurotypical people, I'm just speaking from my experience. That what we perceive as anxiety and frustration and things like that, neurotypical people might perceive it as something completely different. So there is no right or wrong answer when it comes to naming your emotions, because they're your emotions. So it's about understanding how your emotions affect you as a person and where you feel them. So for me, anxiety is like starts from the tension for me in my sort of my chest area, like the butterfly kind of uncomfortableness in my tummy. And then that then manifests for me as like lots of thoughts and lots of things going on. Now, for somebody else, anxiety might just be the butterflies in their tummy. I know this combination of things that creates anxiety, and then I'm able to break that anxiety down into smaller chunks. And I'm talking to somebody who's suffered with anxiety my whole life. And as a child, I didn't have that emotional language. And even into my adult years, I didn't have that emotional language to break it down. It's only been since I've dived into this work that I'm doing and my experience as a social worker and stuff, that I now fully understand what that is. And instead of being overwhelmed by anxiety, which I was crippled times with it. It was horrific. Now I'm able to manage it in that moment, which has been a massive change for my life, but also for Lil's, because Lily suffers with anxiety and she has extreme panic attacks. So it's something that I've had to learn to to not only master myself, but then to show that to her and then teach her and support her through doing the same thing. So it's that cycle of breaking patterns and it's that cycle of knowing. And I think one of the important things that I've learned from working with Lily with looking at her emotions and breaking them down into further things is the difference between how I feel emotions and how she does. Now, we're both neurodiverse and we've got similar neurodiversities, but there is a difference. We're different people, different experiences, different lived experiences, as well as like internal experiences. So there is a really big difference. So as a parent, don't make assumptions on what it is that your child is. So if your child tells you that they are feeling a certain way, you can give them other words for them to use. Don't make an assumption that you're right in what they're feeling, because that can then cause barriers, because they're like, well, actually, you're not hearing me. And what we want is for them to feel seen and heard and supported and safe to be able to explore that in more detail. Like you said, with the, I feel, I need, da, 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 da. So
let me just interject there as well, if I can, is that it's okay to, so just as you said there, like when I asked you about how you feel, and you said, I'm anxious and I'm apprehensive, and then I add, so it sounds like you're overwhelmed. Don't be frightened to add, so not assume. I wasn't assuming you were overwhelmed, but I worded it in it sounds like. That's empathy. So as soon as you say, that sounds like, or that makes me feel like you are, adding that bit in, because it would be easy to go, oh, you're overwhelmed. That's what you are. And if you're overwhelmed, what you need to do is, I've taken control there and I've taken that feeling. That's what I would do if I'm overwhelmed. But by allowing that to come in, the brilliant thing about offering an emotion is that when you're in it, so if you're really anxious and apprehensive, if someone says, oh, that feels like you're overwhelmed is much easier to deal with than anxiety, because anxiety is something we've got to have. We can't get rid of that. We can get rid of overwhelm. Just go and live on a desert island. Do you know what I mean? I know we can't. But write your list down. It's not in your head. So it's easy to deal with. So don't be trying to add a thing, but do it very, very carefully by going, it sounds like, because then people go, oh, not quite, or yes, that's exactly how I feel.
And that's what, and I think that's what I was trying to get at, is that don't make assumptions and, like you said, then go into the fixing mode, because that's when you then will have a child that will just disconnect from you, and then they will go to their room, slam their door and tell you to fuck off because you're not listening to them. So what you done was very empathetic and nurturing to be able to help me come out of my own head and go, oh, actually, that could be what's the underpinning of that, which is what helps them to be able to bring the umbrella term from anger down to something that is more manageable and has a resolve for, that they can then be able to understand that resolve for themselves. But if you're going in, I've said, if you're going in with, you're overwhelmed right now, so you need to go and write a list and you need to go and do this and you need to go and do that, then you're going to have complete shutdown and you're going to get told to go and do.
I said to you, oh, you sound overwhelmed. What you need to do is my instinct would be, God, don't do that. Don't tell me what to do, because we don't know. Your teenager will do exactly the same. Don't tell me what to do, because they're not in that. They're not a child anymore. Whereas a child will come to you going, oh, I don't know what to do. You would answer them and fix them. Teenagers are very different. Another thing that I talk about a lot on all the other stuff that, you know, if anyone's been into any of my stuff before or come to any of the workshops, is teaching your teaching you. It's not brain rocket science. That'd be an interesting qualification. Not rocket science or brain surgery is what I was meant to say, and that mixed it all up. Is one other sentence. I'm teaching you 2 sentences. You've got a 2 for 1 today. The next sentence is to say to your teenager, do you want comfort or a solution? Because what you're doing there is you're not fixing, you're asking them what you need them to do. You're saying, I'm here. What do you need from me? So if they struggle with the I need at the end of it, you say, okay, what do we need to do? Do you need comfort or a solution? You could say it in a different way, like, do you need hug or a help? No, hold on, that's the wrong way around. Do you need help or a hug? You know, because if you say comfort or solution, you'll get a very confused teenager look at you going, what? That don't make no sense. Because what you're doing is you're saying to your teenager, what do you want me to do for you? Do you need me just to comfort you, just to have a hug, cry, rant, leave you alone. What do you need from me? Or do you need me to go into full parent mode and fix the shit out of this? I'll sort it out. So go back to the original example that your daughter's not been invited to Sophie's birthday party. What do you need me to do? Do we want to go and get a film and have a pizza and just have a night in? Or do you want me to contact their mum or contact her or help you write the message back to Sophie so you can feel like you're in control of that? By doing that, you are saying to your teenager, not only I want you to think about what you're feeling, but I want you to think of the solution of what you want us to do about this. Because sitting in it is not going to be comfortable, but we can work with it and we can get control over it. So if they're feeling disappointed, there's not a lot we can do with disappointment. Chances are they're not going to want to text their friend or message their friend because that's a bit weird. As apparently, I mean, I would do, and I'm an adult, but I know if I ask my 14, I'm doing that.
But then on the flip side of that, with the neurodiversity, they probably would.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's like the impulsivity that they have to say what's going on for them. So once you've gone through that process of emotions, for them it would, in my experience, there is a strong likelihood that they would say, actually, I want to say to them, why have you not invited me?
So they would always always, but most of them go for a solution. So would that, if you said to Nils, do you want a hug or do you want me to help you through this? Would she understand what you were asking? Would she understand what she needed to do? Or is that a bit abstract for them?
So when Lily's in any unregulated state, I have to use very plain language with her and make it very concise. Otherwise, she just doesn't get it. So really, when she goes into, so let's say like a friendship issue, because that's the path that we're on. So when she's had friendship issues, sometimes she will completely shut off, and other times she will come and talk to me about it. It's just cool either way. So when I've said to her before, what do you need? My response to her is, what do you need from me? Mm-hmm. And I don't give her options, because if I give her too much direction, like too many things at once, she can't process all of it. It's just too much noise, and she shuts down even further. So just put it back to her, what do you want from me, or what do you need from me right now? And not giving her the options is really helpful. But those that have got PDA, or a class as PDA, they need the options. So with my grandson, I have to give him options. So there's a lot of different variants with neurodiversity, with how to respond to your child. And that ultimately, you know your child best, and you know what they are able to comprehend when they are in either shutdown or overwhelm mode. Because they're the two times when they're dysregulated the most. So with Littles, I would say to her, what do you need from me right now? And there's been times that she said to me, can you help me write a message? And this is what I want to say, but I don't want it to sound rude or nasty. I just want to express how I feel. And other times it's been, can you message mum? And other times it's, take my phone because I just don't want to deal with it. So there is like, and it's the same thing. Like I give her the responsibility of the solution that she wants, but I don't give her the two options of, do you need a hug or do you need some help from me? It's just that very simple, what do you need from me?
That's so useful, isn't it? Because there's some real generic terms that we can use. But then what you're saying there is to be really unique and bespoke to your own child. You know what would work and what wouldn't. Now, I'm sure there's parents out there that if they thought even about saying, do you want comfort or a solution, they know exactly what the response is that they're going to get. So being really flexible with it, but just understanding, I suppose the baseline of what all we're talking about is, this is my quite structured sentence. What you're saying is massively develop it to what your child needs and understand your child's needs, is giving them that space to explore rather than jumping in and fixing, which is what a lot of parents are doing. And not, they're not wrong. That's our natural instinct. But I would say, before any parent jumps into anything, is just to get your teenager to really understand what the feeling is they are feeling. Because, like I said, if they're sad, you're going to want to just comfort. Well, actually, if they're feeling sad, if you look on the feelings wheel, they might also be feeling very lonely. They might be feeling ashamed. They might be feeling abandoned. They might be feeling a lot of other things. That requires a different response from us. So we are credit to us. We're reacting to what our teenagers are saying to us, but we need to be aware that they're probably not identifying what they're feeling. I'm not saying correctly. That sounds really arrogant, but we need to be aware that there might be different emotion going on there that they're not aware of how to express.
I think what I want to add there is that actually a lot of parents, a lot of adults don't understand that, and this is not me being derogatory, because this is not something that's ever taught to us. We're not taught it in school, and generational wise, our parents not give us these tools or this information. It's only through doing university and courses and all the rest of it that these things are actually becoming a lot more widely known. So breaking down the emotions is something that some parents, a lot of parents, might not even understand themselves. And without having that knowledge yourselves, it's going to be really difficult to support your child to. So download the emotions wheel and get used to the words that come after the generic umbrella of emotion. Because if you don't understand where they fall into the emotional bracket and be able to, you could see that your child is frustrated, but they're saying they're angry, and you don't quite know how to bring that into it because you don't feel that there's a connect, but there is a connect, and you need to be the bridge to support them with that connect. Does that make sense, or am I just...
No, makes perfect sense.
And I think especially with neurodiversity, because we do feel things differently to neurotypical people, and we process things very differently. And one of I should do a diagram of it. I might do a diagram and then talk it on website. But one of the things I explained to Lily is that our thought, so neurotypical thought processes are quite linear. They're quite straight. You have the thought, and then it's like, this is where it gets to. But with neurodiversity, you have the thing happens, and then you go there, back and forth, and you're all around, and it becomes this intertwined thought with so many different things, because so many different thoughts going on in your own mind that bring up other feelings, and then they get so muddled that you don't actually know what is that underneath feeling that's going on, because actually there is so many that are going on at once. And if you're trying to pinpoint a situation that's happened, it's about breaking that back down to that one situation, not your friends pissed you off because you've not been invited to their party, but then you stubbed your toe because you was angry, and you broke your phone because you launched it, and all of that. That all then becomes compiled on top, and it's not just the I'm angry because my friend didn't invite me, and then breaking that down because they feel disappointed or whatever it is. You've all them other emotions that are then compiled into that, and it becomes, like I said, this big knot, this big weed of things that are going on. And without being able to pull up that underpinning for them, it's really difficult to then be able to process that and move forwards. Because once you've been able to process the one, it kind of filters in nicely to process the others, because you go, actually, I stuck my foot because I wasn't in a thinking brain of what I was doing, and that made me angry. So I threw my phone and I smashed my phone because I was even more angry, but it wasn't actually anger, it was pain. And then I throw my phone, which has made me really upset because my phone is my lifeline. And then it just kind of starts to untangle everything that's going on when there's been one thing that's been like the catalyst, I suppose, of the emotion that's happening for them.
Yeah, exactly. I've got nothing to add there. I was so in tune with it. I was like, It's really hard, isn't it? It's really hard to know what to do, how to do it right. And I suppose nothing that we're saying in these podcasts or anything that you'll find on the Facebook groups or the websites are judging anyone's parenting at all, because all of this is new. When your teenager hit their teen years, it goes into free fall, and we're trying to refine ourselves. So, and that's ultimately what we're here for, is to offer that support and guidance and reassurance. I think is the biggest thing, is reassurance.
Yeah. And it's like anything, like where it's like business, everything you do is a test. And let's face it, there is no one way to parent. There is not in anything you do, there's no one way to do it. Everybody's unique to to themselves, and every person's child is unique to themselves and to their parents. So there is like a lot of complexities underneath that, and having places to go to be able to say, you know what, I don't know if I've done this okay. Like, it's a really good thing to have, because you could then be having that mum guilt and that shame that you put on yourself because, oh, I said the wrong thing and it made them explode even more. Coming into one of the groups and saying, oh, this is what happened, you will have an array of parents in either group coming and saying to you different things from their different perspectives. And that's one of the things with me and Laura. We've got different perspectives, we've got different experiences, and Laura's processes are different to my processes. So we have different ways of explaining things and different ways of looking at things, which ultimately just shows everybody that there is no right or wrong way of doing it. There is just trying and seeing what works for you. And let's face it, what works one day might not work the next. Like, in all reality, you could try, you could try the best outcome that you've got with your child with an emotion. You could try that on the next time that comes up, and it's an absolute shit show. And then you're like, back to, but it worked before, why does it not work now? Because they are changing and you are changing, and with change comes growth and lessons.
Biggest thing though is consistency. Just stay consistent with what you're doing. Don't offer support and reassurance to your team one day and then not the next. If they need it, they need it. And even if you're not feeling 100%, if you're doing the I feel I need to yourselves, that's okay. It's okay if you feel grumpy, tired, exhausted, busy, whatever you're feeling. It's just being able to relay that to them and say that I'm still here. I might not be 100% mentally with you because I'm exhausted, but I'm still here for a cuddle, and I'm still here to support you through what's going on. Because the biggest thing, that's the only thing I would say, is your consistency. Not necessarily consistent happy. That's that toxic positivity comes through. Don't be consistently content. You can't do that. That's putting expectations that are unrealistic on us. But just being consistently there, in terms of messaging them if they text you, if they're saying they're not feeling great. Check in on them when they get back from school. Just before you go to bed, the amount of parents that don't, well, I say this, I don't understand like it's, but I've started to see that a lot of parents, well, my own husband doesn't say goodnight to the girls sometimes, just like walks past their bedrooms. I say goodnight to them and the dogs.
Can't say goodnight. I suppose that's, again, it's your own thing, isn't
You're
it?
doing well, do you go into bed and you just, oh, they're busy, they're doing their own thing. I hope he doesn't listen to this because he's a fantastic dad. Make out that he never says goodbye, but you know, no, good night. But there is this sort of like, have you said hello to the girls yet since you've been? No. And I'm like, so it's, I'm just a nosy cow. I'm in their lives all the time. I want to know what's happened to that friendship drama, and I want to know. So it's that consistency. They do engage with, by the way. I'm not just like sitting on the edge of the bed going, tell me what. But keep consistent and keep open, an open narrative, open communication with them. Doesn't matter what they're saying. Doesn't matter what they're feeling. It's just that they are talking to you and keeping that communication open.
And I think, to add to that, a little tip for me today. A little tip that works really well with Lily, again, because of the neurodiversity, she finds it really difficult to sometimes approach things or say how she's feeling because she feels uncomfortable to do so. So we have an unwritten rule in this house that Lily can feel me in whichever way that she feels safe to do so. And often for Lily, that is she will leave me a note, and we'll get notes left all over the house. And it was all different. This is Lily's communication style, because she doesn't do eye contact. She doesn't do that in-person thing. She really struggles with it. So for her, writing it down is her way of being able to express it. So when she's feeling rubbish, she would just leave me a note. Mum, I'm feeling meh. Or she gives me 3% battery today. Or so there's different variants of how she communicates to me. Or says I'm feeling really sad and I don't know why. And then we explore what's going on and do all of that work. But it's her knowing that she has different ways to come to me and talk to me. And actually, if I'm not the person for her to talk to, she knows that she's got other people within her network that she could go and talk to things that she might not feel comfortable talking to me about. So having that open narrative with them, but also being outside the box where it's not just they have to come and sit and talk to you, because let's face it, teenagers generically, not just neurodiverse or neurotypical, might not want to come and have a conversation with you, but they need to get this off of what's going on for them. So having a I wouldn't say
Threatening.
a non-threatening way to be able to do that is a really good method to have. But do it in conjunction with them. Don't say to them, this is what you need to do. Say to them, what would work for you? How would work best for you? Would it be via a voice note, a message, a written note, a picture, or some kind of like color system, whatever it is? There is so many different variants that you can use. But when things are a little bit calmer in the house, to have the conversations, just so you're both aware. And I mean, for me, with little vertical notes, before we made this an actual thing, I missed notes because I wasn't looking for them. Like, so because she lives in the weirdest of places.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, the most randomest of places is where she will put on the windowsill in the bathroom, which is not somewhere like it's not somewhere that I go and look for something. Do you know what I mean? But it's because she's like hiding away. That's a hiding away. I need to put it there because I don't feel safe enough to say it. But now I know that I'm actively looking for things without even knowing that I'm actively looking for it. And I pick up on things a lot more with her because now that's the unwritten rule between us, that's how she communicates.
That's sweet. That's really cute. That's really lovely that she feels safe to do that. And you found that way.
Yeah.
I was in the car. So our children are different ages. Not only are different neurotypical diversenesses, but also different ages. Mine are 16 and 14. They're hurtling this month towards 15 and 17. So they're very different. So I was in the car with my, we were talking, my nearly 17-year-old, we were talking about, we used to do heart emojis for how she was feeling. And she was like, I hated doing that. I said, oh, okay. Because that's what I tell people to do. I said, I'll do these similar things. So if you, depending on how you're feeling, tell me, like, show me what color heart you're feeling, then I can do that. And she was like, I hated doing it. I didn't want that. That's not, but I didn't know that. I kind of enforced it on her because I needed to know what was going on. So for Amy, there was stuff going on for her where she wasn't feeling particularly great about everything around COVID time. And I would ask her to do these hearts and she didn't want to do them. And I didn't know that. But what I realized now was it was my own anxiety. I was worried about what she was feeling. So when she would text back a heart colour to say she was okay, I could relax into my day. So what happens? There's no way on God's earth my youngest one, Charlotte, would do anything like that. Not a chance. Absolutely not. So some tools that we're giving are going to be really, really good. Now, the one that I do with my girls is I pick it like, God help me if they come back and bite me on the ass for this one, right? But I spend so much time with my girls and not sure it's through like shopping trips and wonderful girly evenings and stuff like that, just by driving them around where they're going, driving them to school and college and whatnot. And I pick up the tone. Of course, it's my job to pick up tone and body language and stuff. But if I say to my youngest one, you got a good day today, what's happening at school? I will know from the tone of her voice of whether I keep going with that one or whether I back off completely and I talk about the holiday we're going on in the summer. Because the day ahead of her is too much, or it's too boring, or it's too stressful, or whatever's going on for her. I know that. I don't need to ask her that question. I know it's not a good day. So I think to myself, right, let's change the subject completely. So her birthday's coming up. She's got a sleepover. Going to a rage room where they just smash things up. Cool. Definitely should get one of those. Like, should get in the therapy room, just smash your anger out. Yeah. So I started talking about that, but she didn't really want to talk about that either. So that feels like that was too much. There's a lot of organising she wants to do. She wants to decorate the room and have a sleepover and stuff. But then we talked about the holiday we're going to in the summer. And then she started perking up. So I almost was fishing for the one hook that I could get to get her talking. And then we talked about holiday because that's in the summer. That's a long way off. And it felt like a nice, relaxing thing for her to talk about. So talked about that. My anxiety wants to know what's happening today. Has she done her homework? Has she got enough? Oh, that's just mine. I need to put money on her card. Otherwise, she's getting no lunch. And it's 20 to 12. So I need to put, there you go. Keeping it real, unedited. That she, I want to know that she's going to be okay. Because we had a period of time where she didn't go to school through anxiety and worry. So I'm always on my hyper alert of going, have we got this going on again? No, she's just got double maths, science, and just can't be asked. That's what we've got going on. So we've thrown loads of stuff out in this episode today, and we will put it all links down in the notes for everyone to come and grab what they need from it. But basically, I think the overwhelming theme of today is your child's unique, you're unique, and you just need to understand what works for your child. That doesn't mean that you just take one idea and if it doesn't work, give up. It means you've got to try. It took me ages to figure this one out with my nearly 15-year-old. I only just found out that the hearts didn't even work. I thought that was a genius idea. Apparently not. And I've been telling clients to do that just to say it does work to the right team. Yeah. Not mine, apparently. She thought it was naff and there was no point in doing it, but she still did it for quite some time.
But it is. And I think, like you said, with the key takeaways from today, I think, is that supporting your child and yourself to name the emotion and not give it the generic, like, if somebody's angry because they are angry, they've got that deep anger, then that's cool. That's their emotion is anger. But exploring what is going on underneath that is really important. And using the key phrases that Laura has said with the I feel, I need. And how can I help, or do you want a hug or help, or whatever it is that is going to work for you, and tailor it to your child. So we will give you tools and ideas of things, but these are not set in stone. It's about being able to actually make it your own and make it fit for you and your child, because you don't want to come across and say something to your kid is not something you would ever say. Like, they're going to be like,
yeah, like giving them a coloured heart, apparently, was not the right thing to do. But you're absolutely right there, Naomi. And I think it's keep trying. You will find the thing that works for your teenager. Both myself and Naomi are both available to have conversations with you and give you loads of different ideas and tips and techniques to try. But your consistency is going to be absolutely key for all of this. But thank you. Oh, going to end it there. What?
I was going to say, and working on your own emotions is the underpinning with this. Is if you're not working on your own emotions, you're not going to be able to help them with theirs.
That's it.
And that's a wrap for today.
That's a wrap for today. Thank you for joining us, everyone. It's been lovely to speak to you. Please reach out if anything has hit home and you want to know anything more. We'll put all our details in the notes below. But until next week, have a good one, and we will see you all very soon.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Oh my. Whatever.